The Pacecast from Pace Communications, hosted by Anita Pace and very special guests.
Hello everybody and welcome to the February episode of our Pacecast. I'm Anita Pace and it's great to have you with us. Thanks for tuning in. So this is the second episode of the year and we're continuing this season with a spotlight on one of our partners, the people we work with every day at Pace. This month I'm delighted to be chatting to Jamie Barrington, the Sales Operations Manager from successful house builder Beal Homes. Pace has been working with Beale for 3 years, helping to build the Beale brand, and it's one of our busiest accounts. There's always lots going on at Beale, and Jamie and his team keep us really busy in the office, which is great. So without further ado, hello Jamie, good to see you.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Thanks for doing this. So let's get straight into it. Listeners may remember from last month that we're asking guests to bring in an item that's personal and meaningful to them. Something that's going to tell us a bit about them, and maybe something that we don't know. So I've got no idea what Jamie's brought in today, but I'm going to ask him to tell me what it is and talk about why it's important to him.
Super. So, I brought in Richard Branson's autobiography, Losing My Virginity. It's not about what the title says, but it was the first kind of business book that I read that I suppose gave me a little bit of a business mind and a more entrepreneurial mindset. From a very young age, I've always worked. I got a work license at 13. And I was working
What's a work licence?
In Manchester, you could get a licence to work so many hours if you were 13 years or over. So I had a work permit to work. So I suppose it's to make sure there's no child exploitation and things like that.
Do you know what? Is that a current thing?
I don't know.
Because I've got a 12-year... No, sorry, she's 13 now, and I'm desperate to get her into some sort of employment, and everyone keeps telling me she's too young, so yeah. I need to check that out.
I'm not sure, but certainly in Manchester it was a thing back then, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, yes.
No, so I worked in my grandfather's shop. He had a scuba diving shop in Manchester, and he basically let me run it. And, you know, I've got early memories of... customers coming in. There's one particular instance where a couple came in just wanting some fins, mask and snorkel for a holiday in Egypt, and they walked out spending over £2,000 worth of diving gear, signed up to a PADI course in the UK. So
thanks to you.
From an early age, I've always been a little bit of a salesman. Yeah. So
Richard Branson's book obviously sparked that initial interest in business.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your early days working. You obviously went to school, college, uni, was it?
Yeah, so went from high school, went to college in Chorley, in Lancs, and then I went on to Hull University. Originally, I was actually wanting to go to the University of Stirling, and I missed out on that by 1% on a biology exam. So fate took me over to Hull, and I was on the sports rehabilitation course. So it's kind of the in-between of physio and strength and conditioning. So it's that kind of like building you back up in between the two.
So hang on a minute. So you had that initial interest in business and you worked in the shop, and then you decided to study sports rehab. So talk to me about that. What made you...
So it was probably year 9 at high school. I kind of discovered the sport that I liked. I was never as good at football, rugby, but year 9 basketball, badminton became my sport. So I all of a sudden was interested heavily in sport. And when I went to Hull Uni, I was actually on the sports science course at first. And I saw there was a big group of sports scientists in the lecture hall for the first day, and there was a big group of sports coaching students. And then there was this little group up at the top, which was sports rehabilitation. And I just thought, I want to be in that group. I want to be in the smaller class, you know, and I was always interested by injury and the body and how it worked. So I went straight down to admissions and asked if I could switch over to rehab, which they thankfully allowed me to do. And then, commenced the course at Hull Uni.
So I'm interested in how you've gone from sports rehab into house building.
Yeah, big change.
So talk to me about
big change.
That,
so I loved sports rehab. It was, you kind of plan out your career and you want to work in professional sport. And fortunately, I had the opportunity to do that. I was with Hull FC for 7 seasons. I had my own sports injury clinic, which is probably the business element. That was Body Fix down Beverley Road. We were part setting up a Pilates studio. We were taking the business further and further.
So you graduated from Hull Uni and then set up your own business?
After about 6 months or so,
Okay.
Whilst I was working at Hull FC. Yeah.
Okay. And so you were on the payroll at Hull FC doing physio or sports
Sports rehab.
rehab, and then you left Hull FC and set up your own?
No, I did them both alongside
Okay.
each other. So I'd normally start work with the boys at FC probably about 7 in the morning, work through there till about 3, and then I would go to the clinic. At the time I didn't drive, so it was buses everywhere. Get the bus down to the clinic for about 5 p.m, and I'd work 5 through till 10 p.m, and then repeat the process the day after.
So you were obviously very motivated at a young age.
Yeah.
So why? What is it in your DNA that motivates you, or certainly back in those early days? Because that's a long day, and there's the fact you weren't driving, you had to get on buses.
Yeah.
That's a lot of effort. So, what was driving you?
I think deep rooted, it's probably that need and desire to want to find a solution to a problem, and that obviously more transpires into what I do now at Beale. But back then, having patients coming in with a problem that they've been to the hospital and not got the results, they've been to the GP and not got the results, and seeing them walk out when they probably couldn't walk in, in itself is such a massive achievement. So, and you get a real buzz off that from your clients and the feedback that you get from your clients, and doing the same obviously in professional sport, it's a different level, and the end goal there is the win. So whatever you've done in the week, if you end up with the win, job done, and then you start again the following week. But it was that constant repetition of being able to provide a service to people that were broken to a degree, and were walking out fixed, hopefully. Hence the name, Body Fixed.
Yeah. Okay, so how long did you do that for?
So I did that for, in line with Hull FC, so up until 2016, the start of 2016. But there was a turning point which kind of led me away from rehab and into real estate. So,
I'm intrigued. Go on.
So my best friend was actually a patient. So he played at a local rugby club, and I treated him. We built up a really good friendship over the years. Played sport together, played squash together, and he went from working in a restaurant not far from here to real estate. He started working at Red Row Homes, and went to see his new house, which was a Red Row, and we sat down. We were talking about salaries and jobs and careers, and we had a child on the way at that point as well. We had my first son, Finley, on the way, and he showed me his pay slips.
As you do.
As you do. Whether it was bragging or what, I don't know, but I was gobsmacked at his age, at the age he was then.
And what age are we talking about?
He would have been 19, 20 at that point.
Oh, wow, so still young.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was pretty much catapulted onto a 40 grand salary at 19, 20 years of age, which is incredible, really, as an industry. So it got me thinking, I'd done my degree, obviously, by this point. I was partway through completing my Masters at Salford Uni.
A Masters in sports
rehabilitation,
right, okay.
Yeah, because I wanted to progress up. I was then planning to go and do a physio Masters on top of that. I'd always been quite education based. I still have a little itch that I want to scratch in finishing off a Masters. I still feel like there's a degree of unfinished business there that I want to close off, although workload wise it's challenging to take something else on. Yeah. But seeing the kind of earning potential that my friend was on, and also seeing the career prospects that would open up, sports rehab and the sports industry generally is quite a fickle industry. You only see, on telly, a new manager comes in and the whole back office and back team are out, and a new team comes in. I was having interviews at the time with Sheffield Wednesday, and again...
So you've gone from rugby into football?
I was looking at football.
Okay.
I was looking at football just to kind of explore options and, see if there was a pay difference and so on. But again, it was taking so much time back and forth between the owners and the management team, and it just made me feel is now the right time to step out of sport. I've done what I set out to achieve. I've worked in a professional setting. I've been to Wembley, lost unfortunately, but we got to Wembley. We played at Cardiff. We played. We did camps overseas. I'd kind of ticked all those boxes. The next step up would have been Premier League football, I think, but it wasn't meant to be. And I just felt with having a new son on the way, having a mortgage looming, that a more sensible career was probably the option, and also getting a little bit of time back because, like I explained there, the working hours, working from 7 in the morning till 10 at night, sometimes 6 days a week, sometimes 7 if you've got clients there. is challenging. And certainly with the clinic, I could have appointments 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 o'clock to take me through till 10. None of them might turn up, but you don't know until that happens. So I could be sat there waiting till 9 o'clock at night and earn no money from it.
So you made the decision to switch career paths.
Yes.
So what did you do with your clinic? Did you sell it? Or?
No. So when I had my interview at Beal Homes, the sales director then made it absolutely clear that she wouldn't allow me to have any other business alongside the work. In hindsight, I completely understand why.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if I had clients to get back to, but I equally had a prospect that I was working on in sales, you've then got a conflict. So it was the right decision in the long run, but at the time it really hurt because I was still hoping to continue with my clinic because I had a fantastic client base. You know, I used to work with a lot of sports teams specifically that would just come to me, and you build up such a good rapport with them, and you know they're coming in all the time telling you that I've got a PB this week, I beat my 5k time, and you know this is down to what you've done, thanks so much. I just started doing some work with an amputee as well, and that just blew my mind because it opened up a whole new level of rehabilitation in understanding the mechanics of a body that is limbless to a degree, and I really wanted to kind of pursue that as an avenue, but overall I needed to make the decision to provide.
Okay. So you kind of sacrificed a bit of the job satisfaction from what you're saying.
Yeah, and there's probably a bit of a back reason to that as well. My now wife, when we were dating, she was working in nutrition and physio assistant in Nottingham, and she sacrificed that to come to Hull because I had the prospect of working with Hull FC. So we got ourselves a little rental. She got herself, I think she was had 3 jobs at one point, from working in a pub to cleaning the pub on the night. She made that sacrifice for me, so then it felt like the right time for me to now sacrifice and put back into the family.
Okay, all right. So by this point, you're got a baby on the way.
Mm-hmm.
You're about to buy a house.
Yeah.
Was it a Redrow house?
It wasn't, no, unfortunately not. Couldn't afford it.
You were very obviously successful in getting the job with Redrow.
Yeah.
So talk to me a bit about that transition then. You went into the house building sphere.
Yeah.
Selling?
Yeah, so I do remember a funny story about getting my first pay slip from Redrow and forgetting that it would be prorated. So I saw the figure and I thought, this isn't what I signed up for. But thankfully, it was all rectified and it was fine. But yeah, I started off selling. I was paired with a fantastic lady called Karen at Grimsby, which is a very unique market. It's isolated, a little bit like Hull. It's out of the way. And I sold my first 3 homes on Grimsby, saw those customers through. And then I was offered a site in Wakefield, which was a bit of a flagship site for Redrow. It had always consistently produced results. It was pretty much a sale a week on there. You know, it was a nice, steady site. And it was right next door to the head office as well. So you always had visitors and director visits and coming in. But I sold well on there, and before I even had a chance to finish the site, they then moved me onto my own site from scratch. And when you're in the house building industry, you always want to get to that point where you get a site from the beginning. You don't like taking over somebody else's site. You want your site, and you want to put your mark on your site. So I was given a development called the Sycamores, which is in a little village called Sherburn in Elmet. It was kind of an offshoot to an already existing development called Saxon Gardens, because it's an old Roman site. And after a short while on there, I then took over both sites. So I'd pretty much sold up on my side and then took over the main body of the site. So
it sounds like you were pretty good at this job. Were you progressing quite quickly through the ranks then?
I wouldn't have thought at that point I was looking to progress, to be honest. I was really happy selling.
But the fact you were getting responsibility for your own site suggests that you were pretty good at it though.
Yeah, I think I was doing relatively well. And again, maybe because I had the business background of running my own business and had a really good relationship with my site teams. And then one of the area managers handed his notice in. So naturally, I thought it's a step up. But the main motivation for me at the time to move into management wasn't for the position, the title, or the pay. Generally speaking, the pay at the management level was less than what you could earn at the sales executive because of the commission. Yeah. But having a child, I think Hannah may have been on her way at that point as well.
This is child number 2.
Child number 2. Yeah. We I needed to think about the weekends and how that was going to work, because the working pattern was Thursday through to Monday. And to work every weekend once they got to a point of being at school, I thought would be quite challenging. And again, not fair on my wife to have to look after the children on a weekend by herself. And because we're both from out of city, we are on our own. We don't have that support of parents. So I made the jump, or applied for the position of trainee area sales manager. Thankfully got the position, then moved up to area sales manager, and then was gifted a development called the Poplars and Aspen Park at Garforth, which again was a big flagship development. And that was my first opportunity to really kind of put my stamp on that development and how we wanted it to go.
And presumably by this time you've got people working for you, you're managing a team.
At that point I've got a team, yeah. So when I moved to Garforth, I looked after Garforth and Sherburn. And then we had a new site coming up at Swanland, so as part of my role would be the land appraisal, the Viab, the sales arena layouts and setup for Swanland Heights, which is just up the road from here. And yeah, it went really, really well.
And what kind of manager are you then? If I was to ask one of the team back then what you were like as a manager, a new manager?
Yeah, so I have this thing that I tell all my team, and it's that I hate the word manager. I can't stand it. And my, I suppose, response to that is, if I'm having to manage, I've recruited the wrong person. To me, my role is there to mentor, to guide them through, to provide the tools that they need to do their job. If you're having to manage that process, then they're not the right person for the job. And I think with the team that I had at Garforth, the two ladies that I worked with, we worked really, really well on that site. The site ended up being the best performing site. I think it won the award for the best site of the year out of the Red Road Group National. But they got the award just after I left. I was gutted I wasn't there as part of it. But yeah, no, it was a great site.
That's a good segue to where you are now. So you're now doing very well at Beal Homes. So talk to me about how you went from Red Row to Beal and what appealed to you about that.
Yeah, so Red Row as a builder, in my opinion, out of the volume builders, is one of the best at what they do. Out of the big nationals, their product range is stunning. The eye for detail, is second to none. So I was really happy at Red Row. I had no intentions of wanting to move at all until I saw the ad pop up on LinkedIn for Beal Homes. And I knew Beal, having lived in the area, although I worked West Yorkshire. Obviously I lived in Hull, so I knew the product really well. I knew what the brand was about, because I had it as part of my viability study for Swanland, so I had to do a little bit of research on them. And had it been any other builder, I honestly probably wouldn't have applied for any other position. But seeing an opportunity to come up at Beal, which I know is like gold dust, I just had to apply. And I applied again. I kept sending emails. I was pestering the HR person.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I was
know
desperate
that.
to get in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it paid off. Maybe they're just annoyed at me.
So the job you originally applied for, is that the job you're doing today?
Correct,
oh,
yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and the job was a step up from being just if you like, an area sales manager on the field with your team. The management system at Beal works quite different. So rather than us all looking after a certain number of developments, which is what most new build will do, we each have different responsibilities in the business. So one person looks at driving the sales, one person looks at all the progression and legal side of things. And then this opportunity was operational. So it was your sales arena setups, your marketing, your PR, the works.
Yeah. So your current role, you wear many hats, don't you? You've got a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
So Beal's gain, Red Row's loss. So you've been at Beal how long?
3 years this April. I actually started just after the first lockdown. So, it was interesting times. I didn't know whether I was going to have a job, but again, Beal were absolutely fantastic. They took us in. We had a new project at the time, which was the website, which we worked with you on. And it was something for me to get my teeth straight into. Yeah.
And how does it differ then to working at where you were before? I don't want to keep plugging your ex-company. So.
It's just different. I think the biggest thing for me, and another reason why I really wanted to come to Beal Homes, was the range of product that we deliver. And Beal aren't afraid to take on those challenges that other builders will ignore or not execute as well. And, the fruit market is testament to that. You walk down that street, and if you've got the eye for the detail, you notice that there's different window colours, there's different door colours, there's different brick types and painted brick styles, and a lot of builders do that, but this really is unique. And even dropping the roof heights to accommodate the view of the whole minster, and integrating that into a retail setting, and the way it's been done is just stunning. And hence we won the awards at the Watt House. We won 2 awards. We were submitted for 2 awards. We only went through on 1, and then at the actual awards event, we ended up winning 2. It was that good.
Successful,
so it was amazing.
Yeah. And winning awards is something Beale does very well. There's been quite a few certainly since the time we've been working with you guys.
Yeah.
So Beale's very successful, doing very well. In challenging times, I mean, let's be honest, it's not easy out there for any business at the moment, but particularly house builders. And we'll come back to that in a second. But up in the news recently, and attended the launch not long ago, the new head office, which is an iconic building and showing Beale at its very best.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that then, the investment that's gone into that head office and what it represents, and why, as a company, have you decided to do that?
Yeah, the investment's phenomenal. And I suppose to take a step back to that, obviously Beale used to be based on Headham Road, and the philosophy is always to be the best. We're not necessarily looking to be the biggest. And we always want to be within an hour's commute of our head office. So being at Headham Road, sometimes it could take you an hour just to get to West Hull. So they made the decision around the time of the last recession to move to Bridgehead Business Park, and they were the first commercial building on there. And that opened up a whole new corridor for the business, moving more out towards the west. And obviously we've opened Goole since then. As far north as kind of York, we've got the opportunity to go to, and then all the way down to Lincoln. So it's really opened up our patch to be able to operate. And that location's that good that we decided to stay. But our USP, which is the design lounge, we wanted to offer more, and Richard wanted to offer more to the customers and to give them that elevated experience that is completely unparalleled with any other builder. The traditional way of buying a new home is, I think, what started in the 70s, which is a garage turned into an office. You'll turn up, you'll have a look, you'll pick from a small range of samples, fill in a carbon copy sheet, and you're done and off you go. And it's not really changed. And I think that's where we're at now. A few people have tried to do like a central office system, and it's failed. But what we've delivered now is more of an immersive experience. We've introduced new tech to take you on virtual tours through the developments, even to the point where the detail showcases the correct species of trees that we've specified on our drawings, and that is displayed on this virtual tour. But the, I suppose, crowning jewel for us is the design lounge, and that's I think it's quadrupled in size from what we had before, and it's to show our customers the range and breadth of things they can do. I think a lot of people still don't realise they can move walls, they can add double doors in, they can completely change their electrical layout. The number of kitchen choices, we're trying to work out actually how many choices you get, and we can't even calculate it at the moment. There's that many different combinations that you can go for. It is phenomenal. And, the feedback we've had for the very short time we've been open has just been fantastic. Customers, business professionals in the area alike, they're just absolutely blown away by the setting and the investment that's gone into that.
I mean, it's certainly impressive. And I think people don't realise that the bespoke nature of the homes that you guys build. And I think that, it's there in the strapline, designed by you, because literally the home is designed by you.
That's correct.
The shell might be slightly prescriptive, but certainly what goes inside is designed by you, and I think that's the differentiator, isn't it? And
it was all born out of, again, the last recession, where at the time a lot of builders were stripping the specification back and cheapening materials and trying to cut costs wherever they could, whereas Beale bucked the trend and developed our USP to make us stand out from the crowd. And hence we're still here today, we're still operating, we've had our best year ever. It works. People want more choice, and especially in the social media world we live, where everything's on Instagram and everybody wants to buy into a lifestyle and have that experience. We're delivering that, and we have been for years, but we've taken it to a whole new level.
You mentioned there that last year was your best year yet. Now we're early into 2023, and it's no secret that it is hard out there for any business and for the general public as well, with less disposable income. So as a house builder, it's a big commitment, a big investment. How are you guys finding it in the market?
Do you know, if I'm being completely honest, not bad. It could always be better. But there's a lot of scaremongering by the media, as there always has been and probably always will be, and it will inevitably affect all lines of industry. What a lot of that does is it makes people go scared and think, oh, we'll wait until the times are better. We'll wait till the mortgage interest rates come down. The reality is they're probably where they are now, and they're going to be like that for a while. But the reality behind it is we've had cheap money for too long, and really that was never going to be, self-sustaining. It probably had to come back up at a point. And equally, I think we've gone through a period with Brexit, the war in Ukraine, energy crisis, fuel price increases, strikes. There's always been something to put people off, and I think we're starting to see people are just fed up with listening to the narrative that's out there and actually just wanting to make the decision and do what they want to do for themselves when they want to do it.
And Beale is quite proactive in offering support to buy a house. I mean, you've got various schemes, haven't you, that help house buyers? Absolutely.
Yeah, we've got pretty much a scheme for anybody, that comes through the door. And, we understand that it's a big investment. It's the biggest investment most people will ever do. So there are schemes out there to support and help people make that move when they want to. At the same account, a lot of our competitors, if you like, will literally throw everything at you to get the deal. But for us, it comes back to what do you really want? Because if you're sat in your house and you've moved, that deal's long forgotten. That extra £2,000 that you might have got is long forgotten. But what you're in now is the house, and that's going to be with you for a much longer time. So for us, we remind our buyers that pick the right house, pick the right location that works for you. Hopefully it's a Beale. 9 times out of 10 it should be a Beale, because we build fantastic homes in great locations. But we do have that support should people need it.
Yeah, and I suppose sign of the times, but people will also be considering maybe selling if they've got a larger house and considering selling a smaller house. So there's still a market for people who maybe want to change the size of their home.
Yeah, absolutely. We've probably seen a bit more of that recently. The downsizer market has definitely opened up, whereas the first time buyer market has gone a little bit quiet.
Yeah.
And again, there's been a bit of a perfect storm where Help to Buy came to an end last year. And we're waiting for kind of new schemes to be fully opened up to allow that market to get back involved.
Okay, so we'll come back to you in a second as Jamie and what your plans are for the future. But in terms of Beale, what are the long-term plans for Beale? Anything you can share with us that's not commercially sensitive?
I think from what I've said so far, it's clear that we're a pioneering, forward-thinking business. We don't let okay be good enough, and we're constantly striving to try and make sure that both the product and the experience and the service that we deliver is second to none and above our competition. And I think if you get those things right, the business can take care of itself. There's a book that I read by Simon Sinek, which is Start With Why. And I think if you keep that at the heart of what you do, always go back to why are we doing this? Well, it's not just to tick boxes or get units in. There's a customer at the end of that, and we keep that at the forefront of our minds because our business survives off the back of it.
You're not building houses, you're building homes.
We're building homes, and we're building a lifestyle,
exactly.
And we're building communities.
Yeah. Okay, so Beale's going great. You're obviously doing well in your jobs. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Finally getting into Beale and making a success of it. And I know knowing Richard and Sue, you're very highly thought of, so well done. So what are your plans, your personal dreams? You left university, sports rehab, your own business.
Yeah.
Now you're building homes.
Yeah. As I said earlier, I've still got that itch that I want to scratch in possibly doing some further education, but real estate based. It's not a necessity, and I know I don't need it to move forward with my career. I could quite happily knock education on the head, but I gain so much out of learning. Hence why I read quite a lot. Any spare minute, if I'm not with my family, if it's half an hour before bed, I'll be reading. current book is Leaders Eat Last, again by Simon Sinek. It's the follow-on to...
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, really good book.
Oh, okay.
3 chapters in at the minute, but
check that one out.
it's really good.
So not wishing to know the details of your bedtime routine. You mentioned there reading a book before bed, but let's talk about your home life. So married,
Yep.
2 young children. How old are the children now?
Hannah is just turned 6 and Finley is about to turn 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
Handful. I remember those days. And you work obviously long hours in a sales role.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how you juggle everything then, because I know working full time with a family, it's hard.
Yeah.
Is Mrs. Barrington still as supportive as she was back in those early days?
She is, and equally she works silly hours herself, you know, and I think if I was to be a fly on the wall and look, I'd go, how the heck do we do it? You know, we don't have any family support up here, so we do everything ourselves.
So where are your family? Back in Lancashire and Nottinghamshire?
Yeah. And my wife, she works full-time in the NHS. She manages to get it in 4 days, but inevitably she always works the 5th day at home. She's home working, which is great. Off the back of COVID, that's stayed. And that does make a bit of a difference. That makes it a bit easier. But we try and give our children the quality time we feel they deserve. So they're involved in football, rugby, dance, cricket in the summer. And we've got a nice core group of friends where we've recently moved to. So we moved into the sticks, middle of nowhere.
Is it true that you're not in a Beal home, I hasten to add, you're in a converted barn or something?
Yeah, that's right. So I was looking at a Beal home actually at the Pilgrim's Walk development in Hessel. But I went to view a 4-bed in Kirkeller, a second-hand property. And it was the top of my budget and it just needed so much work doing to it. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to throw the net out and just look everywhere, you know, where as far north as kind of Driffield, as far east as west as Howden, all the way to the east coast and then down towards Brigg. And we came across this converted barn. And at first it was too far away, can't go all the way out there, it's ridiculous and don't want to be commuting into work like I was when I worked in Leeds and Wakefield. And then again, there was that little itch that I wanted to scratch, and I thought, really intrigued by the interiors of this. You know, I said, come on, let's go and do a viewing just in case. And we eventually got a viewing. We walked in, literally stepped foot into the hallway, looked at each other and said, this is it. We almost don't need to see the rest of the house. Yeah. And it's obviously semi-rural. And I think a bit of that was born out of COVID and just that feeling of wanting to have a bit of space around you. And again, the Beal home offered that because of its location and the green space on the development. And it was a bit of a struggle to make the decision. But in the end, we felt that was the right thing for us at that time in our lives.
And am I right in thinking you've got chickens and other...
Not yet.
Oh, you're getting chickens.
Not yet, but I'm trying to convince Mrs. Barrington. No, I really want chickens or runner ducks. So Finley's friends at school have all... we've kind of become friends with the parents of Finley's friends, so we've kind of become like a nice little group. And we were just having a barbecue one day and we were just talking, and I kind of clocked as we were going round that everybody had chickens apart from us. And I thought, well, I can't be the odd one out. I've got to get some chickens. So I'm planning it into the garden scheme.
Is this just so you got them as a pet, or are you actually going to have eggs?
Eggs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've done the research. You know, the average chicken will give, I think, something like 260 eggs a year.
Okay.
So a little flock of maybe 3 or 4 awesome runner ducks, Indian runner ducks, which are just the best thing to look at.
You never know it looking at you, that you've got these secret desires to have chickens and ducks. So you sound very settled.
Very much so.
In the converted barn. It's east of the city,
it's east.
isn't it?
And to be honest, that was partly probably down to Beale, in that I felt so comfortable at Beale. Not comfortable as in, easy, but comfortable as in I know this is the place where I want to work for ideally the rest of my career. So moving out east is obviously always challenging if you're looking for a position that's back west, especially coming through Hull to then go out to the likes of Leeds. And there's not many regional offices for builders in and around our region. So it would be a move to the likes of Leeds, Wakefield, Doncaster, should I move to a different builder. But I don't want to. I'm very, very, very happy where I'm at. And that was enough for me to think, yeah, this move's the right move, and I can
no
settle
pun
down.
intended, right move.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's good that you're settled. It's good for Beale and it's good for Pace as well, because we love working with you.
Thank you.
So I just want to check then before we finish, all those years ago when you set up your own clinic, any regrets from going away from the entrepreneurial businessman to corporate?
I think everything in life happens for a reason. I know it's a bit of a cliche statement, but my work ethic hasn't changed. And in the space of time that I've been in real estate, I've gone from a sales exec to a trainee sales manager to a sales manager to a sales operations manager. So, hopefully it shows that I'm still willing to develop. I'm not happy just to do a role and stick with it. I'm constantly looking to improve. And hopefully long may that continue.
Yeah. You're clearly still motivated.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
That comes across.
To the frustration of others sometimes, but I think you need to be.
Yeah, you certainly keep us on our toes. All right, so closing question. So as I said last month, we've blatantly copied Steve Bartlett's Diary of a CEO, and we're asking our guests a question. But the question...
Massive fan, by the way, Stephen, if you're watching.
As am I. So the question has been posed by our previous guest, and... obviously, you don't know what the question is, and I'm reading the question now for the first time. So
worrying.
The question is, what are your secrets to managing your workload, your work-life balance, and keeping an eye on the big picture?
It's an interesting question because I sometimes feel I struggle with time management. Again, I think it comes back to my particular role. I wear that many hats, and it's the one thing I love about, one of the many things I love about my role is no 2 days are the same, no 2 hours are the same. I can be jumping from a land viability study for a new site to marketing to PR to whatever, to a new sales arena setup. I love that flexibility. So I think in terms of keeping an eye on the big picture, I've got a very, very supportive wife. She is an absolute diamond, and I know everyone will say that about their wife, but you speak to anyone who knows my wife and they get it. Having met her, I think she's lovely. Oh, she's just fun. Oh, of course, yeah. She's absolutely fantastic. What did I say? I think you're punching above your weight. Absolutely, I am. I am, and again, that'll probably remain, and that will continue. No, I've got a really good support network, and I think it's just about surrounding yourselves with the right people and people with the right attitude. And we've got a really good relationship with you guys at Pace. That makes my life easier. That means I can manage things a bit better. And it's the same for all, facets of the business. Good. Let's leave it there on that positive note. Thanks again for coming in and joining us this month. And we look forward to continuing to help build the Beale brand. Thank you. Nice to see you. Bye. Thank you. So that's it for this month. Thanks for tuning in. As always, if you've got any comments or any questions or any suggestions of people that you'd like to hear on this Pacecast, please do get in touch via our normal channels. And until next month, it's bye-bye from me.